like, yeah, this is why we do this, is because, certainly it's, it's difficult being a caregiver and wanting to make sure that you're getting filled as well. And I was filling myself at that time with positive, fun, exciting things of my mom and her past, and not necessarily focused on the tough day-to-day things that we were having to go through. So I found that very therapeutic for myself as well.
That's a great idea.
Dimensions of Dementia is an educational video series from the Alzheimer's Association Greater Cincinnati Chapter. Join us each week for personal stories, engaging conversations, and educational content exploring issues such as caregiving, identifying warning signs, dealing with disease symptoms, and latest advances in diagnostics and treatments.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Dimensions of Dementia. I am Dana Ritchie. I'm the program director for the Greater Cincinnati and Miami Valley chapter of the Alzheimer's Association.
And I'm Andrew Pitlick. I'm the walk director for the Cincinnati Tri-State Walk to End Alzheimer's. We're very fortunate today for this episode to be sponsored by our good friends at Magnolia Springs in Loveland, Ohio.
We have double fortune because we have a sponsor for today, and then we're joined by Jacki Williams. Jacki, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jacki Williams. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association, and I serve the Greater Cincinnati area as a program manager.
Yeah, and we're fortunate enough. We had an earlier episode. If you didn't catch it, go back and check our first episode with Jacki. Your mother had Alzheimer's, and we were talking before about some of the warning signs that Jacki saw. So Andrew, could you remind us, what are the 10 warning signs people might see in someone?
Yeah, so number one would be memory loss that disrupts daily life. That's an important distinction, disrupting daily life. Number two, challenges in planning or solving problems. Number three, difficulty completing familiar tasks. Number four, confusion with time and place. Number five, trouble understanding visual images or spatial relationships. Number six, new problems with words, speaking, or writing. Number seven, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. Number eight is decreased or poor judgment. Number nine, withdrawal from work or social activities. And number 10 is changes in mood and personality.
So we talked the last time about that, not remembering what day it was, not being able to write checks, really only being able to sign her name. Were there some other warning signs though, that you and your family saw?
Yeah. So my mother was a shopaholic. She oftentimes, like several times a week, was out finding sales, finding deals, shopping. She had a big, large, extended family. So she started her Christmas shopping usually like in July to make sure she had. And so we started noticing that she wasn't out shopping, that she was staying home and spending more and more time at home and not venturing out.
Wow.
And she was kind of withdrawing from an activity she was very well invested in financially and from a monetary perspective as well as a time perspective. Yeah. And all of a sudden she was not going out. And that was a cause for concern for us. And my father became really concerned about it as well. And he was still working, as I mentioned in the previous episode. And he was, out of the house, running a business, doing his thing. He started making it a point of coming home several times a week and going to take her out for lunch, to get her out of the house and getting her moving. We weren't sure really what it was at that point. Was it depression? Was there something going on that we weren't quite sure from that, sign that she was showing us what it truly was and what was behind it.
It wasn't like a behavior that got replaced with like QVC shopping, for example.
No, not at all.
That, right?
Not at all. She did not replace it. She was just home, became a little bit numb and was just not really expressive and was just kind of withdrawn from a lot of things at that point.
Things she loved,
not just
tasks.
They had a wide circle of friends. She was often out going to lunch with friends. They were often, golfing and doing a number of things, and she just was not participating on anything any longer. And again, looking back on it, we now know that probably she was trying to not let herself be exposed in terms of the things that she was no longer able to do.
Yeah.
That it kept her from doing things that she had enjoyed, but she was afraid because she was afraid of not being able to do things find her way home, engage with individuals, those types of things. So when I ended up moving in and being her caregiver, I wanted to try and help bring some of that back for her in a safe way. And so one of the things that I did was I got a hold of this group of friends that they would have lunch once a month to celebrate somebody's birthday, because inevitably it was always going to be somebody's birthday in that month. It was a pretty good sized group. And they called themselves the Birthday Babes. So if it was your birthday, you had to wear the sash.
Nice.
You had to wear the crown and
Absolutely.
the sunglasses with these candles on the top brim that all lit up, and it was a thing. You know,
Wow.
it was not a casual, like nice, quiet lunch. It was, we're having lunch, and everyone in this place is going to know if it's your birthday or not. So I would take my mom. I called and said, would you mind if I came and just brought my mom? They're like, we would love to see her. We would just love to. Now, my mom wasn't like outwardly social at that point, but I wanted to find some connection for her. I wanted to find opportunity for her to like maybe have a moment of clarity where she, you know, remembered some of the people. They would often share a lot of stories and laugh, and I wanted her to find some joy in some of that. So I became a birthday babe as well.
Nice.
So we went, and, you know, I would have to be strategic with it and really help find a place where my mom could sit and I could sit, where I could help cue her and guide her. She would often, you know, watch my responses to some of the stories to know if she needed to laugh or be surprised or whatever the case may be. And she would mirror what I was doing. And so much so that at the end of some of those lunches, the number of the ladies would come up to me and be like, she's doing so well, you could never tell. And I was like, yep, she's pretty skilled at this, you know, covering it up and just responding. But she was never initiating. But it was really special. And it became kind of special for me too, because it gave me an opportunity to hear some of those stories again of my mom and some of the shenanigans they would get themselves into and their social circle. And some of those memories were really important for me as a caregiver and almost healing in a way, and provided me with like, this is why we do this, is because, you know, certainly it's, you know, it's difficult being a caregiver and wanting to make sure that you're getting filled as well. And I was filling myself at that time with positive, fun, exciting things of my mom and her past, and not necessarily focused on the tough day-to-day things that we were having to go through. So I found that very therapeutic for myself as well.
That's a great idea.
So, yeah.
So when you guys started to notice the withdrawing and some of the other signs we talked about before, how did you approach that with your mom? You know, how a lot of people see all the signs, but they're not sure how to talk about it and not put their loved one on the defense. Sometimes our loved ones are very defensive about it in the beginning, and it can be hard to get the ball rolling, getting them to the doctor. So how did you guys figure that out with her?
So we actually started with my dad and just, you know, hey, we're just noticing more and more signs. We're noticing more and more things that are, you know, she's just not herself. And we did go through some trial and error in terms of, you know, we worked on trying to get her in with a counselor, and, you know, and we even took her to some appointments and said, you know, I just think, you know, it might be good to, you know, just have somebody to talk to and see, you know, what's going on. This is a different time of your life and chapter. And after one session, we didn't go back. She was just like, I didn't have anything to talk about. And even the counselor was like, she wasn't connecting. She was not. And so it was like, okay, well, maybe it's not, you know, depression or, you know, something along those lines. And so it was a process of ruling a lot of other things out before we got to the point where it was like, okay, this is more than, you know, just normal aging and, you know, or psychological or, you know, emotional type things. There's something more here.
Yeah.
So, you know, certainly started with her primary care physician and whatnot. And, you know, my mom luckily was, you know, very trusting and very, she leaned on us for a lot of things in a lot of ways. Even before, we were a very close, with 4 girls in the family, we all just connected. One of us was always there to lean on. We all had our specialties. We all had our things. I tended to be more close with my mom. And so I was the one who usually was the one who had to talk with my mom and, just kind of let her know that, we're concerned, we care, we want to make sure things are better for you. And so she trusted me and would allow me to, work with her to get doctor's appointments and do some of that. Now, some of my siblings would go to some of the doctor's appointments because I was still out of town at that point. And unlike maybe one of my other sisters who was kind of she took over and just wanted to do things her way. And we knew that about her. So it was like, and sometimes that could have been standoffish for my mom. So I was like, she's going to take you, but just know that, I'm working with her. She knows that we need to make sure that we're getting the right care for you and whatnot.
You guys were strategic in using the family member closest to her.
Absolutely.
Was she recognizing that these things were happening, or was she kind of in denial and trying to cover up with you?
She was recognizing those things, most definitely. She wasn't outwardly saying it to us, but when we would talk with her about it, she wasn't like combative or standoffish. She was just like, I don't know what's going on. Okay. And to a point where, I think there was some feelings of helplessness that she was feeling because she didn't know how to say it. She was maybe afraid to say it. She was confused by what was going on. She was afraid of what that might look like for her down the road. But when we brought it to her and, said, we're concerned about certain things, we'd like to, she would say, yeah, I'll accept that help. But we had to bring it to her.
Yeah.
So, but we were lucky in that she wasn't combative with us at all. So, but, I think for us, we really wanted to focus on making it a very loving, encounter versus, we're attacking you, something wrong, and you needed to get something done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, I know your family was in the Dayton area. We have a Miami Valley chapter.
Yes.
So at what point did you find the Alzheimer's Association? What were some of the services you used in the beginning?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things for us is that when I moved back and all my siblings lived here, it created a different dynamic and a different tension amongst us in that they're like, okay, what are you doing back? Don't you think we can handle this? And I'm like,
the sheriff's back in town.
No, exactly. And here's just the real truth is that we all wanted the very best for our mom.
Sure.
We all had very different ideas on what that would look like because of our individual relationships with our mom. Maybe individual conversations that had happened previously about what her wishes might be. We never really had that conversation, but just based on things that she would have said previously. She had a sister who was in an assisted living community, and it wasn't necessarily a very pleasant experience when my mom had to go visit her, and she would pull back and be like, I'm not sure that that's for me. Don't ever do that to me. And so that was always sitting with me. And so at that point I was like, okay, she's still capable. I need to honor that wish for her. And so my siblings weren't necessarily always in the same camp with me, but I lived far away. And it's easy for me to say that, right? Where I'm not there day to day and having to deal with that. And that was the tough decision my husband and I made when we decided to move our 2 kids up here and move in with her to be her full-time caregiver. So,
and then you found the association. Yes. How?
So my mom didn't live very far from the association. Okay. We would go by it in the Dayton area quite often. And because of the tension that we were finding, one of my sisters said, why don't we call the Alzheimer's Association and set up a care consultation? And the 5 of us met with a care clinician, and it was so helpful Because, we had individuals that didn't understand that this was a terminal disease, that it was something that they had a lot of questions that needed answered. So they were able to get the answers that they needed and help understand what the journey it may look like as it continues to move forward. And that can be overwhelming. And a lot of times people, my siblings would be like, wow, it never even occurred to me that this or that might happen. And so it allowed us to get to a level playing field and be able to then have healthier conversations. And, we talked about the things that, we would do, and they provide us with a great plan and options and resources right in the community to allow us to navigate that by caring for my mom at home.
That's great.
And then I knew nothing about dementia at that point in time. And so I became that caregiver, and I was out doing all kinds of education sessions, making sure I was getting filled with information and knowledge so that I could be the best caregiver for my mom.
That's great. Well, yeah, and we always want to make sure people know about our 24/7 helpline as well. You can always contact that day and night to get a care consultation just over the phone, or get connected to your local chapter if they have care consultants that do that. So the 800 number is 800-272-3900. So thanks, Jacki, for being with us and sharing about your mother. And I'm sure that a lot of people have heard themselves in your situation, and hopefully you've encouraged others to reach out for help.
Absolutely. I hope they do.
If you want to support this show, please share it with others in your life who have been impacted by this disease. We can't do this on our own. For more information about the topics discussed today, or if you have questions about Alzheimer's and other dementia, please visit alz.org/dimensions of dementia, or call our 24/7 helpline at 800-272-3900. And if you want to get involved with the Alzheimer's Association through volunteering or raising funds for research, check out the links in our description.